What do you think that gemstone's for? He asked anyone with an answer. Something tells me this would tell us, but just like those books earlier, I can't read it, Leal said with frustration as she gestured to a small inscription on a placard on the ground in front of the fountain. Jacob had been so distracted by everything else he hadn't even noticed it. Damn, what good is speaking all languages if we can't read them too, Niccolo said, sounding annoyed. What? Leal asked with shock. Nothing, he replied quickly. Anyway, we need someone to translate this for us. Yeah, I guess we could do... Niccolo, don't you feel like you've seen that gemstone somewhere before? Jacob asked, pointing up to it. Now that you mention it, yeah, I do. But I can't seem to remember where, he recalled. Yeah, me too. I feel like that gem must be the key to all of this somehow, Jacob replied. Maybe, but we probably shouldn't mess with it until we understand more about it, Leal said as she knelt down and pulled a piece of parchment from her backpack. She had to set it down and reach inside again until she found her pencil. She popped the pencil in her mouth, sat down, crossed her legs, set the parchment on her lap, then took the pencil and started copying the strange inscription from the placard. What are you doing? Jacob asked. I'm copying this down. That way we won't have to bring someone out here to get it translated. We can just bring it to them and have our answers more quickly, she explained. Niccolo seemed impressed as he nodded. Good plan, he remarked. Jacob felt something come over him as he looked back to the gemstone, and he instinctually reached out for it. Niccolo didn't hesitate and snatched him by the wrist before he could touch it. Hey, what are you thinking? He asked carefully. I don't know. Something just told me to touch it, Jacob explained, shaking the cobwebs from his mind as he came back to himself. Something? Niccolo asked carefully. Jacob noticed his eyes were wide. Yeah, some weird feeling I got, he explained. Niccolo smirked. What, like a gut feeling? Alright, go ahead then, he replied as he released him, gesturing toward the floating gemstone. Maybe we shouldn't, Leal interjected, sounding nervous. Maybe, but what harm could it do? Niccolo asked, making Jacob and Leal both gulp with unease. I don't know. Maybe it could do some good? Jacob asked. The color seemed to drain from Niccolo's face when he heard the uncertainty in his voice. I don't know what good ever comes from messing with ancient artifacts, but if you think you can handle whatever might happen, I guess all I can do is trust you, Leal said, gritting her teeth. She put away her pencil and parchment before standing up and slinging her backpack over her shoulder and taking several steps back from the fountain. She watched with great discomfort as Jacob decided what he would do. Slowly and carefully, he reached up toward the gemstone. It felt like an eternity as he slowly reached his hand as high as it would go. But just as his fingertip touched the golden star the gem was set in, Jacob froze when he heard a voice call out to him. Wait, please, don't touch that, the quiet voice called. Jacob immediately withdrew his hand and looked around for the source of the voice, but he didn't see anyone. Not a moment later, 8 or 9 little birds Jacob didn't recognize landed on the fountain in front of them. Birds? What's going on now? Leal asked with frustration as she reapproached. The birds recoiled and hopped away from Cardi, but the loyal wolf didn't falter from Leal's side. Was it you who asked me to stop? Jacob asked the birds, feeling a little silly. Dude, birds can't talk, Niccolo said, seeming bewildered. But he was immediately dumbfounded when one of the birds replied. Please, leave this fountain alone. It must stay standing, a puffed-up little fellow tweeted. I don't want to harm the fountain. I just wanted to get a better look at that gemstone up there, Jacob said calmly, hoping to satisfy the birds. They tweeted and chirped with discontent. No, it must stay in place, another bird chirped with alarm. Really? Why's that? Jacob asked. They chirped and tweeted wildly with confusion and unease, but none answered his question. So that gemstone is important, Jacob remarked as he crossed his arms. The birds chirped and tweeted with alarm, and all but the first to speak flew away with the rustling of feathers. You're talking with birds, and all you care about is that stone, Leal asked quietly, seemingly to herself. I don't care about the stone at all. I care about helping Sophia and the other people in danger, Jacob replied, feeling perplexed and a little dejected. Leave this place! Don't come back! The little bird tweeted, but before he could say anything else, he squawked with fright and flew off. Hey, wait! Jacob called after the bird, but his attention was taken by a strange bubbling sound. It sounded like boiling maple syrup being squeezed through a piping bag, bubbly, wet, squishy, and squelching as it was forced through a tight space. Niccolo and Leal seemed to hear it too, and they all looked around for the source of the noise.